So is it possible to grow your business during a recession? Well, of course it is. I think the better question is, how do we do that? How do we grow our business into, is it a recession proof, or just how do we grow it in a tough market? It's Scott Beebe with Business on Purpose, and it is always our delight to be able to liberate you from the chaos of working in your business so that you can make time for the things that matter most. Futurist Bob Johansen describes our modern context with a unique acronym, VUCA, V-U-C-A, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. He goes on to explain this. He says, leaders will be buffeted, but they need not allow themselves to be overwhelmed, depressed, or immobilized. Leaders must do more than just respond to the whirl of events, though respond they must. They must be positive change agents, listen to this, in the midst of chaos. So chaos will always swirl around, but we can be liberated from that. And what Johansen's saying is we've got to be positive change agents in the midst of that chaos. But how do we, instead of just having this whirly-dirly mindset where we just think our way into things, what are some actions that we can do? Well, that's our very aim, is to liberate owners from chaos so that you can make time for the things that matter most. Since 2008, virtually every business owner has thought, at least once, when will the next recession come and how bad will it be? Yours truly has wrestled with the same question during moments of emotional and mental weakness in my well-documented struggle with fear. Recently, though, I've wondered, could we approach a market dip with enthusiasm and expectation rather than doom and gloom? Is that possible? I think so, and here's what I mean. The low country of South Carolina, it's where our family lives, has been on the receiving end of active hurricanes almost every year since 2016. For many years, us living in the low country, we never experienced a hurricane, and all of a sudden in 2016, it seems like just about every year or every other year, something comes through. It's nice to believe that we can hurricane-proof our home, but the reality is that the best we can possibly work towards is a thoughtfully hurricane-reinforced home. I don't know that anything can ever be hurricane-proofed. I was in earthquake-plagued Northern California a few weeks ago and saw firsthand the construction efforts of code enforcement mandating an over-engineering of residential spaces in an effort to thwart the devastation of an earthquake. And yet, there could always be a scenario where the disaster proofing is just not enough. But we can work to build up a healthy resistance for sure. Even some well-run businesses were knocked off their foundations during the Great Recession. In most cases, though, the businesses that were recession reinforced were able to withstand. So here's a few non-negotiables to reinforce your business so that if a market dip comes, you can go into the storm with expectation and anticipation rather than doom and gloom. Now, these are in no particular order, but let's start. First, your vision story is even more important than cash. I put that last statement in there because sometimes when I say vision story, we tend to get a bit of an eye roll. No, your vision story is even more important than cash. Liquidity, accessible cash, is certainly a delightful tool, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And we would all love to have an excess, but what is more crucial is vision. In a market storm debris, usually that debris gets thrown around, and if your perspective is lost, your course can easily get thrown off. Ed Sheeran, the musician, says in his song Lego House, "I think the braces are breaking." In a storm, braces have a chance to break, and equilibrium can get thrown for a bit. While the storm is raging, and when the storm is completed, it's both refreshing and comforting and recentering to know and to have confidence in your heading, to know that where you're going. Ship captains and airplane pilots would surely agree. The only way you can lead a team to run is to write the vision down, literally write it down, and communicate it with incredible repetition over and over and over again. A second tool to help recession reinforce the business is this idea of cash, what I just mentioned a second ago. See, cash will offer buoyancy, and it begins to give you options when you have it. In a typical room full of business owners, if I had everyone raise their hand who could make it through 3 months of business with no revenue coming in, not many would be able to respond with the affirmative. The hurricanes here in the low country exposed some businesses to the reality that they could not even survive 1 week of zero revenue generation, let alone a few months of market correction. We recommend that businesses have an accessible stash of 3 to 6 months of cash reserve to live on under the assumption that no new revenue was generated. Now, it's not a move based on fear, but instead on wisdom. A decision based on fear or greed is to have 2 years of cash built up, unless maybe you're a farmer. See, hoarding is not healthy either. The likelihood of zero revenue is not very high in most industries. If you have cash, you have options. One option is to float the entire business with no reduction of overhead, personnel, etc. Another option is to thoughtfully trim the business expense in line with the new revenue. Obviously, this is the easier option to do with a team of subcontractors versus a team of full-time employees. The most exciting option is to have cash available to purchase other businesses at a discount. Remember all those hands in the room that would not go up because they couldn't make it more than a week? Many of those represent good products or services that are just simply poorly managed and can be revived by your leadership. You may be able to purchase their business, the assets, the teams, the contracts, the relationships, at a discount during a stormy market. You cannot do that, though, if you don't have cash, or if you listen maybe to your year-end advice to go, hey, buy a bunch of stuff. Well, when you buy a bunch of stuff, you lose all your cash. Oh, and by the way, you got to spend a lot more money maintaining the stuff you just bought. The smoothest way to build cash that we have seen and expose hundreds of business owners is to subdivide your bank accounts and metaphorically begin to cut up each receivable dollar that comes into your business so that every penny has a home immediately. When you begin thoughtfully watching your money will magically begin to be kept with intentionality. The third tool of reinforcement and reinforcing your business are team meetings. That's right, team meetings. That will ensure the right things will be communicated in the right way. Having endured the geographical displacement of a few hurricanes, that's helped train us on the importance of predictable communication channels. Now, obviously, our family, as we were together, we were able to communicate in real time and with real frequency. Our mayor has done a great job through each of the hurricanes, communicating certain times where she would communicate to displaced citizens, us, using the social channels. Our local sheriff would also hold regularly scheduled updates accessible to anyone, anywhere. If you do not have a regular method and frequency of communication, agenda-driven, leader-led, a regular set team meeting, then a market storm will further exacerbate the irregularity, the frustration, and the unpredictability of communication-challenged culture. Don't wait for a market storm to communicate using team meetings. You start building that habit right now. Now, if you have clarity of knowing where your business is going, that's your vision, you have the cash to keep you afloat, that's your fuel, and a reliable method of predictable communication, that's your lifeline, then your braces are less likely to break, and Ed Sheeran will be a musical companion during an opportunity rather than a prophet of doom during a storm. Make sure to go check out mybusinessonpurpose.com/healthy, and you can start to understand a metric health of the back end of your business to know where you're at with your vision, with your cash, and with your team meetings.